25 black celebrities who died too soon that will shock you. You won't believe how young some of these legends were when they died. One was just 16, another passed away weeks after her breakout role, and one of the greatest voices in music history was silenced in a hotel bathtub. These aren't just tragic endings. These are shocking, gut-wrenching moments that changed music, film, and sports forever. From award-winning icons to rising stars who never got their shot, these 25 black celebrities were taken far too soon. Their stories will break your heart and remind you how fleeting greatness can be. Charmaine Maxwell. Charmaine Maxwell, better known as Maxie from the Grammy-nominated R&B trio Brownstone, was a vocal powerhouse whose talent soared in the mid-1990s. Born on January 1, 1969, in Guyana, she later rose to fame after signing with Michael Jackson's label, MJJ Music. Brownstone's 1994 hit, If You Love Me, peaked at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 and earned the group a 1996 Grammy nomination for Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group. But despite her success and a voice that could stop time, Maxie's story ended in a way so random, so horrifying, it barely seemed real. On February 28, 2015, Charmaine was at her Los Angeles home when she reportedly fell backward while holding a wine glass. The glass shattered, and a shard of it fatally slashed her neck. Her husband, Danish music producer Karsten Schack, of the duo Solshock and Carlin, found her bleeding and called 911. Paramedics rushed her to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, but it was too late. She was pronounced dead at the age of 46. There were no drugs in her system. No signs of foul play. Just a brutal accident, so freakish it made headlines around the world. Fans and loved ones were left speechless. How could someone so full of life vanish in such an unimaginable way? Maxie left behind a young son and a devastated husband. In a public statement, Karsten said, "Words cannot express how devastated we are at the sudden and tragic loss of our dear Maxie. She was the heart of our family." To this day, her rich, haunting voice remains etched in the golden era of R&B. Anthony Mason. Standing at 6 feet 7 inches and weighing over 250 pounds, Anthony Mason was a formidable force on the basketball court. As a key member of the 1990s New York Knicks, his rugged defense, fierce rebounding, and intense physicality made him a fan favorite. He played 13 seasons in the NBA, earned the 6th Man of the Year award in 1995, and was named an All-Star in 2001. But off the court, Mason was known for being soft-spoken, deeply loyal, and proud of his roots in Queens, New York. In early February 2015, Mason was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, a condition that came as a shock to many given his history as an elite athlete. He was admitted to the hospital after suffering a massive heart attack, and though he underwent several surgeries, his condition worsened. On February 28, 2015, the same day Charmaine Maxwell died, Anthony Mason passed away. He was just 48 years old. The sports world mourned his death deeply. Teammates, coaches, and fans alike remembered him as the embodiment of New York grit, tough, relentless, and impossible to ignore. His passing felt not only untimely but cruel, taking away a father of 4 and a symbol of a Knicks era defined by raw hustle and defense. Mason's death served as a painful reminder that even the strongest among us are not invincible. His legacy continues to live on through his son, Anthony Mason Jr., who followed in his footsteps playing professional basketball. For Knicks fans, Mason wasn't just a player, he was the beating heart of their golden era. And that heart, tragically, gave out far too soon. Lamont Bentley. Lamont Bentley's smile could light up a room, but it was his raw talent that truly captured audiences. Born on October 25, 1973, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Bentley moved to Los Angeles as a child with dreams of acting. He hustled his way through commercials and bit parts until landing the role that would define his career, Hakeem Campbell, the ever-hungry, loyal friend on the hit sitcom Moesha alongside Brandy. His chemistry with the cast and charm on screen made him a standout. But Lamont wasn't just a sitcom star. He appeared in the critically acclaimed film Tales from the Hood and even took on gritty roles in The Wash and South Central. Despite limited screen time, his performances always left an impression. Off-screen, Bentley was a dedicated father and aspiring rapper, working under the name CIN as he pursued a second career in music. Tragically, on the night of January 18, 2005, Lamont was driving alone on Highway 118 near Simi Valley, California. Witnesses say he lost control of his vehicle, which skidded off the road and crashed through a fence. After being ejected from the car, Bentley was struck by 5 other vehicles on the freeway. He was pronounced dead shortly after midnight on January 19, 2005, at the age of 31. News of his death stunned the entertainment world. Co-stars and fans couldn't comprehend how someone so full of energy and ambition could be gone in an instant. He left behind 2 daughters and a legacy that never got the chance to evolve into its full potential. Lamont Bentley died in motion, chasing dreams, providing for family, living fast. His story remains one of the most heartbreaking losses from Black Hollywood's younger generation. Joanne Borgella. Joanne Borgella wasn't just a beautiful face, she was a force of confidence and talent. Born on May 29, 1982, in Oyster Bay, New York, she broke barriers early by winning Monique's Fat Chance in 2005, a groundbreaking reality competition that celebrated plus-size women. With her radiant smile and unapologetic presence, Joanne quickly became a rising star in both the fashion and music industries. In 2008, she took her ambition to the next level by competing on Season 7 of American Idol, where her soulful voice and warm charisma earned her national attention. She later signed with Wilhelmina Models and became one of the few plus-size black models to land high-profile campaigns. For many young women of color, Joanne was more than a celebrity, she was representation they had longed for. But in October 2013, Joanne announced she had been diagnosed with endometrial cancer, which had already spread to her lungs and brain. Rather than hide, she chose to document her journey publicly, posting videos from hospital beds, sharing moments of hope and vulnerability, and encouraging others to prioritize their health. Her bravery inspired thousands. On October 18, 2014, Joanne Borgella passed away at just 32 years old. Her family, friends, and fans were devastated, not just because she was gone, but because she had fought so fearlessly. Her death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a reminder that even the brightest stars, the ones who light up others, sometimes burn out too soon. In her short life, Joanne made a lasting impact, proving that beauty, talent, and courage can, and must, exist all in one. Shirley Hemphill. Shirley Hemphill was born to make people laugh. Born on July 1, 1947, in Asheville, North Carolina, she worked her way up from waitressing to stand-up comedy in Los Angeles. Her big break came when she mailed a recording of her routine to Flip Wilson, who saw her potential and helped her land a spot on his show. In 1976, she hit it big playing Shirley Wilson, the no-nonsense waitress on the hit sitcom What's Happening? A role that made her a household name. Her sharp wit and unmatched comedic timing made her a fan favorite. But when contract disputes led to the show's cancellation, Shirley didn't disappear. She starred in her own sitcom, One in a Million, and made appearances on shows like The Love Boat and Trapper John, M.D. Despite her talent, Hollywood never quite gave her the long-term spotlight she deserved. Behind the scenes, Shirley was known for her generosity, especially toward younger black comedians. She mentored others, often performing in smaller clubs just to keep her craft sharp. But as the years went on, she became more reclusive. On December 10, 1999, friends became worried after not hearing from her. When they checked on her California home, they found her body. Shirley had passed away alone from kidney failure. She was 52 years old. Her passing barely made headlines. No cameras, no red carpet tribute. Just a quiet end for a woman who once had millions laughing every week. Shirley Hemphill deserved more than a forgotten obituary, she deserved celebration. And in remembering her today, we honor a black woman who blazed trails in comedy, even if the world didn't always recognize her while she lived. Simone Battle. Simone Battle was a firecracker, vibrant, talented, and filled with magnetic energy. Born on June 17, 1989, in Los Angeles, she was already turning heads as a teenager. But it was in 2011, as a contestant on the X Factor USA, that she captured the nation's attention. Her charisma lit up the stage, and her confidence made her stand out even among seasoned performers. Although she didn't win, her journey was far from over. After the X Factor, Simone joined the pop group GRL, created by music executive Robin Anton. Their debut single, Ugly Heart, became a global hit, earning chart positions in Australia, the UK, and the US. For many, Simone was the breakout star of the group, stylish, powerful, and deeply connected with her audience. She seemed unstoppable. But beneath the sparkle, Simone was struggling. On September 5, 2014, at just 25 years old, she was found dead in her West Hollywood apartment. The coroner ruled her death a suicide by hanging. Friends and fans were blindsided. There had been no public signs. No goodbye. Just a crushing silence where a rising star once stood. Simone's death sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Her bandmates were devastated. Her father revealed that she had been battling depression tied to financial struggles, despite her fame. The tragedy underscored a painful truth, that success doesn't always heal what's broken inside. Simone Battle was a dazzling light, gone before her time, and a sobering reminder that even the brightest smiles can hide the deepest wounds. Stephanie Mosley. Stephanie Mosley was pure dynamism. Born on January 14, 1984, in Vancouver, Canada, she trained as a professional dancer and moved to Los Angeles to pursue her dreams. And she didn't just make it, she soared. Stephanie danced for some of the biggest names in music, including Britney Spears, Janet Jackson, Chris Brown, and Usher. Her presence was electric, her movements sharp yet graceful. She wasn't just a background dancer, she was unforgettable. In 2013, she stepped into the acting spotlight as Aurelie Jenkins, Jude, in VH1's scripted drama Hit the Floor. The show gave her a new platform, and she made the most of it, becoming a fan favorite with her charm, beauty, and intensity. She was just getting started. Hollywood was finally taking notice. But in the early morning of December 8, 2014, everything ended in an explosion of tragedy. Stephanie was shot and killed in her Los Angeles apartment by her husband, rapper Earl Hayes, in what police called a murder-suicide. Neighbors reported hearing arguing before gunshots rang out. By the time authorities arrived, both were dead. Stephanie was just 30 years old. The entertainment world was stunned. How could someone so full of life, so talented, be gone in such a brutal way? Friends mourned publicly, remembering her as warm, funny, and deeply passionate about her craft. Behind the scenes, rumors swirled about a troubled relationship, but the full truth died with them. Wiley Draper Jr. Wiley Draper Jr. had the kind of role most young actors dream of, and he delivered it with uncanny brilliance. Born on May 5, 1969, in West Virginia, Draper was a gifted dancer and performer who gained national recognition when he portrayed Michael Jackson in the 1992 ABC miniseries The Jacksons, An American Dream. His performance, especially the recreation of the iconic Billie Jean moonwalk moment, was so authentic that even Michael Jackson himself took notice. Wiley was not a trained actor when he got the role. He had been dancing at Disney World and was relatively unknown in the entertainment industry. But when he stepped into Michael's shoes, he became a revelation. Over 38 million viewers watched the miniseries, and Draper's portrayal was universally praised. For a moment, he was on the verge of stardom. But just as quickly as he appeared, he disappeared. In 1993, Wiley was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. He kept his illness mostly private, continuing to pursue work and remain hopeful, but the disease progressed aggressively. On December 20, 1993, Wiley Draper passed away in Los Angeles at the age of just 24. His death barely made headlines. There were no major tributes. One of the most promising young talents of the early 90s vanished from public memory almost overnight. His family later established the Wiley Draper Foundation to support young black artists and raise awareness about bone marrow donation. Wiley's story is a haunting reminder that sometimes even breakthrough moments aren't enough to change fate. He became Michael Jackson for the world, but never got the chance to become Wiley Draper for himself. Whitney Houston. There are stars, and then there are voices that define an era. Whitney Houston was the latter. Born on August 9, 1963, in Newark, New Jersey, she was gospel royalty from the start, daughter of Cissy Houston, cousin of Dionne Warwick. But when Whitney released her debut album in 1985, she instantly became a global phenomenon. With hits like I Will Always Love You, Greatest Love of All, and How Will I Know, she shattered records and won 6 Grammy Awards, 2 Emmys, and over 400 career awards. She holds the Guinness World Record for most awarded female artist of all time. Her voice, technically perfect, emotionally devastating, was often described as a once-in-a-lifetime gift. Whitney didn't just sing, she soared. And in The Bodyguard, 1992, she proved she could act too, becoming one of the rare black women to dominate both music and film industries. But behind the glamour was a long battle with addiction and personal turmoil. Whitney's marriage to Bobby Brown was turbulent, and drug use soon became a dark shadow over her career. Public appearances became erratic. Her once pristine vocals began to falter. Yet fans still hoped for a comeback. On February 11, 2012, just hours before a pre-Grammy party at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, Whitney was found submerged in a bathtub, unresponsive. The official cause of death was accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. She was 48 years old. Her death was a seismic moment in pop culture. Tributes poured in from around the globe. The world hadn't just lost a singer, it had lost a symbol of excellence, resilience, and beauty. Whitney Houston was proof that angels could sing. And her voice, though stilled, will echo forever. Tara Korea McMullen. Tara Korea McMullen was only beginning her life when it was violently cut short. Born May 24, 1989, in Westminster, Vermont, Tara moved with her family to Los Angeles, where her natural charisma and quiet determination led to early acting roles. At just 15 years old, she landed a recurring part as gang member Graciela Reyes on CBS's legal drama Judging Amy. Her performance was startlingly authentic, a blend of toughness and vulnerability that made her a standout. Hollywood began to take notice. She appeared in the film Rebound alongside Martin Lawrence and even made a guest appearance on Zoey 101, a popular Nickelodeon show. But behind the screen success, Tara's real life was more chaotic than most knew. She had lived in shelters, bounced between family homes, and by 16, she was living on her own in Inglewood, California. On the evening of October 21, 2005, while standing outside her apartment, Tara was approached by a known gang member, her ex-boyfriend. He opened fire, shooting her multiple times. Tara was pronounced dead at the scene. She was just 16 years old. Her killer, Damon Gregory Watts, was later sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms without parole. The entertainment world was shaken. She wasn't a troubled star spiraling out, she was a girl who had made it out of poverty, only to be pulled back in by violence. Tara's short life and tragic end were featured in the documentary series Boulevard of Broken Dreams, where her story stands as a brutal reminder that even the most promising futures can be stolen in an instant. Heavy D. Dwight Arrington Myers. Born Dwight Arrington Myers on May 24, 1967, in Mandeville, Jamaica, Heavy D wasn't just a rapper, he was a movement. As the frontman of Heavy D and the Boys, he helped bring positivity and playfulness to hip-hop in the late 80s and early 90s. With chart-topping hits like Now That We Found Love, Somebody For Me, and Nuttin' But Love, Heavy D defied stereotypes with his infectious charm, slick dance moves, and bigger-than-life presence. By the mid-1990s, Heavy D had become more than just a performer. He was a mogul in the making, executive producer, actor, and mentor to up-and-coming artists. He appeared in films like The Cider House Rules, and even served as president of Uptown Records, helping shape the careers of Mary J. Blige and Sean "Diddy" Combs. Always upbeat, always working, he was the rare artist who remained respected without ever losing touch with his roots. On November 8, 2011, Heavy D collapsed outside his Beverly Hills condominium after experiencing difficulty breathing. He was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where he later died. The cause, a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in his lung, likely stemming from a long flight. He was 44 years old. His death was sudden, shocking, and profoundly felt in the hip-hop community. One moment, he was promoting new music, the next, he was gone. Tributes came from every corner: LL Cool J, Queen Latifah, Will Smith, all mourning the loss of a man who made rap dance, smile, and feel good. Heavy D didn't fit the mold. He reshaped it. And just when we thought he still had more to give, life had other plans. Fred "Rerun" Berry. Fred Berry wasn't just a funny man, he was a cultural phenomenon. Born on March 19, 1951, in St. Louis, Missouri, Berry started as a dancer in the iconic group The Lockers, where his slick footwork and big personality caught national attention. But it was his role as Freddie "Rerun" Stubbs on the hit 1970s sitcom What's Happening? That made him a household name. With his red beret, suspenders, and unforgettable dance moves, Rerun became one of the most recognizable characters in black television history. During its run from 1976 to 1979, What's Happening? Dominated ratings and introduced a new kind of comedy. Fred's performances were loud, lovable, and filled with joy. Yet behind the laughter, he struggled deeply with fame, weight issues, and substance abuse. He later admitted to battling drug and alcohol addiction, even attempting suicide 3 times during his darkest moments. But Berry sought redemption. He turned his life around, found faith, and became a Baptist minister and motivational speaker. He used his platform to encourage others, especially youth, to avoid the pitfalls he had faced. Still, the fame never returned in full. His later years were marked by personal peace, but professional distance from the spotlight. On October 21, 2003, Fred Berry died from a stroke at his Los Angeles home. He was 52 years old. There were no massive tributes or national memorials, just quiet grief for a man who once had millions laughing. Rerun danced into America's heart, but when he left, the silence was deafening. Aaliyah. Few artists have ever blended style, sound, and soul like Aaliyah Dana Houghton. Born January 16, 1979, in Brooklyn and raised in Detroit, Aaliyah was performing by age 10 and signed her first record deal at 12. Her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, 1994, announced the arrival of a prodigy. By the time she released One in a Million in 1996, produced by Timbaland and Missy Elliott, she had already reshaped R&B with futuristic beats and effortless cool. She wasn't just a singer, she was a brand, an icon in the making. Her music videos, featuring ethereal style and precise choreography, defined late 90s pop culture. And with the release of Try Again, she became the first artist in history to top the Billboard Hot 100 based solely on radio airplay. But Aaliyah was just getting started. She starred in Romeo Must Die alongside Jet Li and had just wrapped Queen of the Damned, with several film roles ahead of her. On August 25, 2001, after filming the music video for Rock the Boat in the Bahamas, Aaliyah boarded a small private plane with her team. The aircraft was overloaded by several hundred pounds and crashed shortly after takeoff, killing all 9 people on board. Aaliyah was only 22 years old. The shock was global. How could someone with so much poise, promise, and purpose be gone in seconds? Tributes poured in from fans and artists around the world. Her death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a cultural rupture. Aaliyah's influence is still visible today in the style and sound of artists across genres. But there will always be the question, what more could she have done if given just a little more time? Michelle Thomas. Michelle Thomas had the kind of smile that made audiences feel at home. Born September 23, 1968, in Brookline, Massachusetts, she grew up surrounded by music. Her father, Dennis Thomas, was a founding member of Kool and the Gang. But Michelle carved her own path in acting, making her mark as Justine Phillips, Theo's girlfriend on The Cosby Show, before landing her most iconic role as Myra Monkhouse, Steve Urkel's love-struck girlfriend on Family Matters. Her charm, comic timing, and glowing presence turned her into a fan favorite. Myra wasn't just a character, she was a pop culture sweetheart. Off-screen, Michelle was known for her kindness, intelligence, and deep spirituality. She avoided the Hollywood party scene and focused on her craft and values. In 1997, at the height of her popularity, Michelle was diagnosed with a rare form of stomach cancer, specifically intra-abdominal desmoplastic small round cell tumor. She underwent multiple surgeries, maintaining a brave front and choosing natural treatments in alignment with her spiritual beliefs. Despite the aggressive disease, she kept her illness private and continued working. On December 23, 1998, Michelle Thomas passed away at just 30 years old, surrounded by family and friends in New Jersey. The news devastated fans who had grown up watching her. There were no headlines full of scandal, just heartbreak. A young woman who brought so much joy, taken far too soon by a silent illness. Her death wasn't loud, but her legacy echoes in every laugh track, every memory of a time when TV still had heart. Tupac Shakur. Tupac Amaru Shakur wasn't just a rapper, he was a revolution in human form. Born June 16, 1971, in East Harlem to a family of Black Panther activists, Tupac's worldview was sharpened by struggle and injustice. With hits like Dear Mama, Changes, and California Love, he gave voice to an entire generation of black youth navigating poverty, violence, and systemic oppression. By the mid-1990s, he wasn't just the face of West Coast rap, he was its beating heart. Tupac was raw, poetic, and political. He sold over 75 million records worldwide and starred in critically acclaimed films like Juice and Poetic Justice. He used every platform, lyrics, interviews, film, to challenge racism, uplift black communities, and expose hypocrisy in America's justice system. But with brilliance came chaos, feuds, arrests, and the infamous East Coast-West Coast rivalry that consumed hip-hop culture. On September 7, 1996, after attending a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, Tupac was shot 4 times in a drive-by shooting. He was rushed to the hospital and placed on life support. 6 days later, on September 13, he died from internal bleeding. He was 25 years old. The murder remains unsolved to this day. Conspiracy theories abound. Was it gang-related? FBI involved? A staged exit? One thing is certain, Tupac's death left a hole that hip-hop has never quite filled. He wasn't just an artist. He was a prophet, a poet, a mirror to America's sins. His voice still echoes today, in music, activism, and in the streets where people still chant his name. Thug life didn't kill him. The system did. Lynn Thigpen. Lynn Thigpen had a voice you could trust, firm, eloquent, and full of command. Born on December 22, 1948, in Joliet, Illinois, she started as an English teacher before turning to the stage. Her theatrical chops earned her a Tony Award in 1997 for An American Daughter, and she became a respected figure across Broadway, film, and television. But to millions of kids growing up in the 90s, she'll always be remembered as the Chief on PBS's Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Her stern yet loving presence on that geography show inspired an entire generation of children to learn and stay curious. But Lynn's career wasn't limited to educational TV. She starred in films like Lean on Me, Shaft, 2000, and voiced characters in Bear in the Big Blue House. On every screen she graced, Thigpen brought gravitas and quiet brilliance. She didn't need to be flashy to be unforgettable. On March 12, 2003, after complaining of a severe headache, Lynn Thigpen died in her home from a cerebral hemorrhage. She was only 54 years old. There had been no prior warning, No ongoing illness, just a sudden, tragic loss that left her colleagues and fans reeling. She had been actively working on the ABC drama The District, where her absence left both an emotional and narrative void. Her death was more than a personal loss, it was cultural. She represented intellect, power, and calm authority in an industry that rarely offered such roles to black women. Lynn Thigpen was the kind of talent who made you sit up straighter just by entering the frame. And then, she was gone. The Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace. Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious B.I.G., was more than a rapper, he was a storyteller, a legend in real time. Born on May 21, 1972, in Brooklyn, New York, Biggie rose from the streets of Bed-Stuy to become one of the greatest lyricists in hip-hop history. His debut album Ready to Die, 1994, changed the East Coast scene forever, and tracks like Juicy, Big Papa, and One More Chance cemented his place as rap royalty. What set Biggie apart was his gift for vivid, cinematic storytelling. He could take the listener from project hallways to penthouse dreams, all with poetic flow, gritty realism, and unmatched cadence. As the centerpiece of Sean Puff Daddy Combs' Bad Boy Records, he led the East Coast resurgence during the height of the coastal rap wars. His charisma, intelligence, and dark humor made him an icon. But fame came with danger. As tensions flared between East and West Coast rap, Biggie found himself in the center of a media-fueled firestorm, most notably opposite Tupac Shakur. Just 6 months after Tupac was gunned down in Las Vegas, Biggie was in Los Angeles promoting his second album Life After Death. On March 9, 1997, after leaving a Vibe magazine party, Biggie's SUV was stopped at a red light. A drive-by shooter pulled up alongside and fired 4 bullets into the vehicle. Biggie was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced dead. He was only 24 years old. To this day, the murder remains unsolved. Fans still light candles, still play his records, still ask, who did it? Biggie Smalls didn't just die, he was taken. And with him, an entire era of hip-hop lost its greatest narrator. Michael Taliaferro. You knew his face, even if you didn't know his name. Michael Taliaferro made a career out of playing intimidating, tough-as-nails characters in films like Life, The Replacements, Blue Hill Avenue, and You Got Served. With his imposing frame and stern glare, he became a go-to actor for the tough guy role in urban dramas and comedies alike. But behind the gruff exterior, friends described him as soft-spoken, spiritual, and deeply kind. Born on August 23, 1961, in Fort Worth, Texas, Taliaferro was an athlete before an actor. He played college football at the University of Texas at El Paso and went on to briefly join the Washington Redskins and Denver Gold of the USFL. But acting was his true calling, and by the early 1990s, he had broken into film and television, playing roles that added muscle and edge to any production. What many didn't know was that Michael was also a budding filmmaker. He had just completed his own movie, Steppin', the movie, and was gearing up for release when tragedy struck. On May 4, 2006, he died suddenly of a stroke in Los Angeles. He was 44 years old. His passing shocked colleagues and fans alike, as there had been no public sign of illness. Taliaferro left behind 4 children and his fiancée, Kathy L.T. Though he often portrayed menacing characters, in real life, he was known as a generous soul who prayed daily and encouraged others. His death was not just unexpected, it was devastating for a community that knew his heart was even bigger than his biceps. Florence Griffith Joyner. She wasn't just fast, she was flawless. Florence Griffith Joyner, better known as FloJo, became a global icon during the 1988 Seoul Olympics, where she won 3 gold medals and 1 silver, dazzling the world with her speed, her 6-inch nails, and her sparkling one-legged racing suits. Her world records in the 100m and 200m sprints, 10.49 seconds and 21.34 seconds, still stand unbroken more than 3 decades later. Born on December 21, 1959, in Los Angeles, FloJo was a track prodigy from a young age. Her flamboyant style and unapologetic femininity broke the mold in athletics, showing that strength and glamour could coexist. She was named the Associated Press Female Athlete of the Year in 1988 and quickly became a role model for young girls around the globe. But just as quickly as she rose to stardom, she stepped away from it all. She retired in her prime, citing family and other ambitions. Rumors swirled for years about steroid use, though she repeatedly tested clean. In her post-Olympic life, she became a mother, a fashion designer, and even served on the President's Council on Physical Fitness. On September 21, 1998, FloJo died suddenly in her sleep at just 38 years old. The cause was later determined to be an epileptic seizure caused by a pre-existing brain abnormality. Her passing sent shockwaves through the sports world. How could a woman so fit, so vibrant, be gone overnight? FloJo's legacy isn't just about speed, it's about breaking barriers, redefining beauty, and showing the world that black women can set the pace and style of a generation. Her records still stand. Her legend still runs. Natalie Desselle-Reid. Natalie Desselle-Reid had a rare gift: she made people feel seen. Born on July 12, 1967, in Alexandria, Louisiana, Natalie brought warmth, humor, and authenticity to every role she touched. She graduated from Grambling State University, a proud HBCU, before moving to Hollywood to pursue acting. Her breakthrough came in the 1997 cult classic BAPS, where she starred alongside Halle Berry as the lovable, over-the-top Mickey, instantly becoming a fan favorite. She continued her rise with scene-stealing roles in Set It Off, Medea's Big Happy Family, and on the TV sitcom Eve, where she played the supportive and hilarious Janie Egan's. Natalie didn't always play the lead, but she had a way of making sure you remembered her. Her expressive face, her comedic timing, and her deep humanity made her unforgettable. In December 2020, the world was stunned to learn that Natalie had died after a private battle with colon cancer. She had kept her diagnosis quiet, choosing to fight surrounded by family and close friends. She was only 53 years old. Her death came just weeks after Chadwick Boseman's, another black actor who had died young from the same illness, making her loss even more poignant. Tributes poured in from celebrities and fans alike. Actress Holly Robinson Peete called her a bright light. Halle Berry wept on social media, saying Natalie was one of the most talented comedic actresses of our time. Natalie Desselle-Reid may never have had the Hollywood machine behind her, but she had something rarer: authenticity, soul, and the kind of presence that lives on long after the credits roll. Eazy-E, Eric Wright. Eric Lynn Wright, known to the world as Eazy-E, didn't just help invent gangsta rap, he lived it. Born September 7, 1964, in Compton, California, Eazy went from hustling on the streets to founding Ruthless Records, and later forming one of the most influential rap groups of all time, NWA. Their 1988 album Straight Outta Compton didn't just sell records, it ignited a revolution. With unapologetic lyrics and raw street storytelling, Eazy-E became the voice of the voiceless. Dubbed the godfather of gangsta rap, Eazy's nasally voice, aggressive delivery, and business savvy set him apart. He launched careers, shook the foundations of the music industry, and became a lightning rod for controversy. But behind the bravado was a businessman, father of 11 children, and someone who knew the power of image and message in shaping culture. In early 1995, Eazy checked himself into Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, thinking he had asthma. Instead, he was diagnosed with HIV/AIDS. The news stunned everyone: fans, family, and even those within the industry. Just weeks later, on March 26, 1995, he passed away from AIDS-related complications. He was only 30 years old. Eazy-E's death was more than a personal tragedy, it was a cultural reckoning. For many in the hip-hop community, it was the first time AIDS had touched their world so directly. Eazy had kept his condition private, and his sudden decline sparked debates about awareness, testing, and stigma, especially among young black men. He died at the peak of his mythos, but not before changing music forever. Ruthless to the end, Eazy-E didn't just make noise, he made history. And his echo still bumps through every beat that dares to tell the truth. Lloyd Avery 2. Lloyd Avery 2 had the kind of intensity that left an impression, both on and off screen. Born on June 21, 1969, in Los Angeles, California, Avery was catapulted to fame after playing the cold-blooded gang member who killed Ricky Morris Chestnut in John Singleton's 1991 classic Boys and the Hood. That single scene, haunting, sudden, and iconic, etched his face into the memories of moviegoers forever. Following his breakout, he took on roles in Poetic Justice, 1993, Lockdown, and other films exploring street life and urban struggle. But as Avery portrayed gangsters on screen, his real life began to mirror the characters he played. He drifted into Los Angeles gang culture, and by 2001, art and reality tragically collided. In that year, Avery was arrested and convicted for double homicide, accused of killing two men execution style in a dispute reportedly involving drug turf. He was sentenced to life in prison and transferred to Pelican Bay State Prison, one of California's most notorious facilities. On September 4, 2005, just 4 years into his sentence, Avery was found dead in his cell. His cellmate, Kevin Roby, a convicted Satanist, had murdered him in a gruesome ritualistic attack. Avery was 36 years old. His body was discovered days later. His shocking fall from rising actor to murder victim inside prison walls stunned Hollywood. Lloyd Avery's story wasn't just a tragedy, it was a cautionary tale about blurred lines between character and self, between performance and reality. He died as the villain in real life, but many still remember the promise of who he could have been. Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke didn't just sing soul, he created it. Born on January 22, 1931, in Clarksdale, Mississippi, and raised in Chicago, Cooke blended gospel roots with pop appeal, earning him the title, the King of Soul. His velvet voice soared on classics like You Send Me, Cupid, and the eternal civil rights anthem, A Change Is Gonna Come. By the early 1960s, he was more than a chart topper, he was a businessman and civil rights advocate. Cooke founded SAR Records, giving black artists ownership over their music in an industry known for exploitation. He also stood side by side with Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, and other prominent black figures of the era. He wasn't just singing about change, he was living it. But on December 11, 1964, that powerful voice was silenced. Cooke was shot and killed at the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles under murky circumstances. The official story claimed he had stormed into the motel office, half-naked, in pursuit of a woman who had allegedly robbed him. The motel manager, Bertha Franklin, shot him 3 times in self-defense. A jury ruled the shooting justifiable homicide. But many, including Cooke's family, never bought that explanation. Rumors swirled about a setup, stolen money, missing clothing, and music industry foul play. He was 33 years old, at the peak of his career, with deals, albums, and activism ahead of him. To this day, Sam Cooke's death remains one of the great unsolved tragedies in music history. But while questions linger, one thing is clear, Sam Cooke changed American music, and America itself. His voice wasn't just soulful, it was prophetic. And even though his life was cut short, his change is still coming. Otis Redding. Otis Redding's voice was thunder and velvet all at once, a raw, emotional power that could shake you and soothe you in the same note. Born on September 9, 1941, in Dawson, Georgia, he rose from humble beginnings in Macon to become one of the most iconic soul singers of the 1960s. With hits like Try a Little Tenderness, These Arms of Mine, and I've Been Loving You Too Long, Redding's music captured heartbreak, hope, and humanity. In an industry dominated by crooners and pop acts, Otis brought gospel roots and gut-wrenching delivery to the mainstream. He became the first soul artist to perform at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967, introducing his music to a massive, integrated audience. Critics and fans agreed, Otis Redding wasn't just a great singer. He was the soul of soul music. But tragedy struck just days after his most famous recording. On December 10, 1967, While traveling to a concert in Madison, Wisconsin, Redding's plane crashed into Lake Monona in bad weather. He and 6 others, including 4 members of his band, perished. He was just 26 years old. 3 days later, Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay was released, his final song. It became his first #1 Billboard hit, and the first posthumous single to top the charts in U.S. history. Otis never got to hear it on the radio. He never got to see how his music would shape generations. His voice lives on, in gospel choirs, vintage radios, and any place where emotion matters more than perfection. Otis Redding didn't die with his music. He became it. Minnie Riperton. Few singers in history could do what Minnie Riperton could. Born on November 8, 1947, in Chicago, Illinois, she was blessed with a voice that defied the limits of human range, able to climb into the whistle register with control and emotion. Before the age of 30, she had already become a legend. Her 1975 classic Lovin' You, written with her husband Richard Rudolph, was more than a song, it was a lullaby for a generation. Minnie's vocal range spanned 5.5 octaves, earning her comparisons to Mariah Carey decades before Mariah emerged. But Minnie wasn't just a vocal marvel, she was a skilled songwriter, mother of 2, including actress Maya Rudolph, and a fierce believer in the power of love and healing. In 1976, at just 29 years old, Minnie was diagnosed with breast cancer. At the time, the disease was even more stigmatized and less understood than it is today. Doctors gave her 6 months to live. But Minnie didn't stop. She became one of the first black celebrities to publicly speak out about breast cancer, working with the American Cancer Society and performing through pain and treatment. She defied that prognosis for 3 more years, recording, touring, and parenting with grace and resilience. On July 12, 1979, Minnie Riperton passed away at age 31. The world lost a voice unlike any other, pure, fragile, impossibly high, and achingly beautiful. So many of these stars were gone before the world truly got to know them. Some were taken by violence, others by illness, and a few by circumstances too strange to comprehend. But here's the question, how many of these deaths were preventable? And how many were the result of a system that fails to protect its brightest black talents? Let us know in the comments, which story shocked you the most? And whose legacy do you think deserves more recognition today? The conversation doesn't end here. It's just getting started.